Hello, this is video number 4, and I want to update and record what I have just done. What I have just done is write for 1 hour. I have this objective where I have to write an email to dentist because of the dental problem, you can say. And my decision making for writing the email wasn't clear. And my brain didn't know exactly how it was going to write the email. And I realized all previous emails that I've written, I used AI to write the email. And because I used AI to write the email, my brain didn't actually use cognitive energy to find those gaps that were missing in our writing. Because every time it had those gaps, it would ask the AI, hey, write the email for me, tell me what those gaps are. And that's the difference. What we're doing now is we're writing it from scratch. And what I have done in this 1 hour of writing is this. I listed the facts. Okay, what are the facts? What are the facts? We already have the facts of our implant. I named the facts example 3.3 millimeter diameter and 12 millimeter length. What else? And with those, I had treatment history as well. What was the treatment history? But I had those written on another document. This was before the email. And with those, I had what are the important questions that I need to ask to the periodontist. And that's what I did in this. And while writing the email, I wrote down the questions while doing this 1 hour writing session. I wrote down, okay, what are the most important questions that need to be answered? And what I didn't just write down the ones that I had, even the questions in my head I wrote down. And then what you do is you have the asterisk on the questions that you need to ask by force. These are very, very important that they need to get answered, they have to get answered. And that will help you after you've read through or you've written your session. You can then go through your through that question or whatever statement you have, and you have the asterisk. And you know, hey, this is important, I have to include this. Okay. And while doing this, I also had here, let me I have facts, our case facts. I have the introduction, different introductions, example, hello, dear, good morning, good afternoon. I think that's helpful. There's also, okay, is what type of scenario is this? Is this a informal scenario, a formal scenario? Is this a business situation? Is this an inquiry? Who who's the actor? We're the actor, they're the receiver. What's our relationship? Example, do they know us? Have they do they know us? Is this our first time meeting? You have a template of okay, these are the list of people. Example, meeting new people equals you can introduce these different type of ways. And if you have people who you already know, then you have this introduction in different types of ways. And then I have even process explanation. Example, what do I want done with this email? Example, I have those questions that I need to get answered. And what if the receiver, let's say he's not that educated on the subject, even though this wouldn't be efficient to write to them. Let's say it depends on what situation you are. Maybe you've read some research paper and you're not sure if this receiver knows about this, and now you want to introduce this hypothesis to the receiver, which would be your caretaker, your the specialist who will be taking care of you in the treatment plan. And that would be, example, the process. Let's say you're explaining the process. Example, periodontist isn't going to know about jaw widening. At least your average periodontist isn't going to know about that. Therefore, when I introduce that I'm going to move the tooth, the canine, through a bone graft, because I'm going to widen my jaw and I'm going to have a diastema over here, and since there's going to be new bone, I have to move the teeth to the healed bone graft. I would need to explain jaw widening for him to make sense, for the periodontist, for them to find this logical. Because okay, number one, you would test it, but number two, they might ask, okay, what's the reason you even want to do that? And they might ask you questions for that, and that would increase latency for your whole process. And the reason they would do that is because, remember, you're asking them for help. You're asking them for help. It's very common they would question something like that because it would be lower cost for them. It would be easier for them because they're used to not doing the process you're asking them to do. Therefore, they would use less energy by doing something they're already familiar with. Therefore, it's lower cost for them, for their brain, to ask the question. But for you, you know that's the only, let's say, solution for you. They don't know that. And you know that latency, you know that when they send you that question, that then after they will realize that yours is the only solution. Therefore, you can pre-handle that to prevent latency and explain the process clear. And you can test that. You must. You don't have to. You can test. You can test whatever you want. If you want to pre-handle it, if you want, don't pre-handle it. But make sure you keep record of your hypotheses. Okay. And you keep record of your hypotheses because one, that keeps, when you go back to your paper where you had your hypotheses, it's going to be much easier for you to remember, okay, what was this about and what was I thinking back then? And you can record your brain's progress for something. And the test, remember, the hypothesis is it's for the test. You need to test something to prove or disprove the hypothesis. That's the reason for the hypothesis, to prove or disprove it. Right, to keep record. Therefore, it's very important to don't have the hypotheses, because then you will have the, hey, did this fail or not fail? And when it fails, hey, I need a new hypothesis. That's how it's made easy for you. Right? Public scientific methods, it's made very easy for you. Do that method, and you have the templates for your email. Remember, if you need the Google Documents, I use Google Documents for the email template, and you chunk it up, and then every email you write, not every email you write, but say the important emails, you could measure them, and now you're improving every email you have. Different intros. I even wrote down theory for something. Theory as a category. And these can get refined. This isn't the final. This isn't the final version for whatever I'm going to have. Even if they're with the asterisk, it doesn't mean they can't get improved. You write it down, Google Documents, email, then you can improve on it. You have a template, now you go test something, and then you keep improving on it. That's it.